You are not here to beg life to change. You are here to command reality with certainty. The Book of Unseen Law reveals how authority, not asking, bends the universe. These are not spells. They are keys to your hidden dominion. The Book of Unseen Law. Introduction. In a time forgotten by calendars and kings, when the heavens whispered truth to those who dared to be still, there existed a book passed not by hand, but by soul. This is that book, risen now from silence, its voice rekindled for the one ready to remember. The Book of Unseen Law is no fable, no idle chant of wishful hearts. It is a sacred architecture of remembrance, etched not in ink, but in the marrow of those who once knew how to command the fabric of reality. Within these chapters you will find grain called forth from emptiness, constellations summoned by breath, and moments stretched or stilled by a single gesture. Every tale is a veil lifted, every practice an ancient rite stirring once more. For what lives here is not charm nor chant, but the divine memory slumbering in your blood. The universe does not obey requests made in doubt. It answers only to the sovereign tone of remembered power. You are not asked to wish, you are not asked to strive, you are simply called to know, and in knowing, to speak, as a mountain speaks to wind, or the moon commands the tide. These are not lessons, they are awakenings, and each one unlocks not some distant miracle, but you, the one who was always meant to shape the stars. Step beyond the known, let the silence part, and speak, not as one who wonders, but as one who remembers. Let the law be heard. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Part 1. The Awakening of Authority. Chapter 1. The Merchant's Reversed Fortune. In the bustling markets of ancient Damascus, where fortune and fate danced through narrow streets like perfumed winds, there lived a grain merchant named Michael Rodriguez, whose warehouses stood as empty as a beggar's bowl. While other traders prospered, his stores remained barren despite every traditional blessing and offering. One sweltering afternoon, as Michael sat among his empty vessels, frustration caused him to recite the ancient merchant's blessing backwards, not in the careful way it had been passed down through generations. Abundance flows like water, became water, like flows, abundance. The air grew thick with possibility. The very dust motes seemed to pause in their dance. Then, to his astonishment, a sound like distant thunder rolled through his warehouse. Before his eyes, grains began materializing in the empty containers. First a trickle, then a steady stream, until every vessel brimmed with the finest wheat anyone had ever seen. Word spread quickly through the marketplace. Other merchants came seeking his secret, offering bags of gold for the knowledge. But Michael had learned something far more valuable than the art of manifestation. He had discovered the ancient truth. Reality responds not to the words themselves, but to the authority with which they are spoken. You see, dear reader, the universe does not simply hear our words. It feels our certainty. When Michael spoke the blessing backwards, he broke free from the chains of tradition and accessed something deeper, his innate power to command rather than request. This is the first key to commanding reality, understanding that the universe is not waiting for perfect words or proper formulas. It awaits your awakened authority. Every prayer, blessing, and intention you have ever spoken has been a practice run for the moment you finally remember your divine right to direct reality itself. The power lies not in speaking forwards or backwards, but in speaking with the unshakable knowing that reality must obey. Just as Michael's grains appeared when he accidentally stripped away the formality of ancient tradition, your own commands gain power when you shed the belief that you must ask permission of the universe. Practice. Sit before an empty bowl. Feel its emptiness, not as lack, but as pure potential. Now speak this command with quiet authority. Reality shapes itself to my awakened word. What I declare with certainty must manifest. I command abundance to flow where emptiness once ruled. Speak these words not as hopeful requests, but as calm statements of fact. Let your voice carry the same certainty you feel when commanding a candle to light or water to flow. The universe awaits your authority, just as it awaited Michael's in that dusty warehouse so long ago. Remember, the power was never in the blessing, it was always in the one who spoke it. Chapter 2. The Weaver's Impossible Thread. In the misty highlands of ancient Phrygia, where mountain spirits whispered secrets to those who knew how to listen, there lived a master weaver named Jennifer Sullivan. While other weavers created beautiful tapestries from ordinary threads, Jennifer had noticed something peculiar about her loom. It seemed to yearn for something more than mere wool and silk. One twilight evening, as shadows danced across her workshop walls, Jennifer found herself frustrated with a particularly stubborn pattern. Instead of coaxing the threads as tradition demanded, she looked directly at her loom and spoke with gentle authority. "You will weave starlight itself." The wooden frame trembled. Threads of pure light began flowing through the heddles, shimmering with impossible colors. As Jennifer's shuttle flew back and forth, she realized she was no longer weaving with earthly materials, but with the very essence of dreams. Word of her ethereal tapestry spread throughout the land. Merchants offered fortunes for her secrets, but Jennifer had discovered something far more valuable than a new weaving technique. She had learned that reality itself was like an infinite loom, waiting for those bold enough to command its threads. You see, dear seeker, the universe is not a rigid tapestry of fixed patterns. It is a living loom that awaits your directions. When Jennifer stopped asking permission to create beauty and started commanding it into being, she accessed the true power that had always resided within her hands. This is the second key to commanding reality, understanding that the materials of creation, whether thread, thought, or circumstance, are waiting for your gentle but firm direction. Every frustration you encounter is simply the universe's way of nudging you toward your natural authority. The power lies not in the tools or techniques, but in recognizing that you are the master weaver of your reality. Just as Jennifer commanded starlight to become thread, you can command the very fabric of existence to reshape itself according to your vision. Practice. Hold a simple thread or string between your hands. Feel it not as a physical object, but as a line of pure potential. Now speak this command with serene authority. I am the weaver of my reality. The threads of existence respond to my gentle command. What I envision must take form in the tapestry of being. Speak these words not as hopeful wishes, but as calm statements of natural law. Let your voice carry the same quiet confidence of a master artisan shaping their chosen medium. The universe awaits your masterpiece, just as Jennifer's loom awaited her awakened command. Remember, the magic was never in the thread. It was always in the weaver's knowing touch. Chapter 3: The Astronomer's Falling Stars. High in the crystal towers of ancient Alexandria, where celestial mysteries were recorded in gleaming brass and gold, lived an astronomer named Christopher Martinez. While other scholars mapped the heavens with careful precision, Christopher noticed something peculiar about the stars. They seemed to quiver with anticipation whenever he gazed upon them. One moonless night, as his lamp oil ran low and the important calculations of the summer solstice remained unfinished, Christopher found himself facing darkness. The temple's oil reserves were depleted, and the merchant's stores were empty. In his frustration, he looked up at the brilliant evening star and spoke not with reverence, but with calm authority. "You will descend and light my work." The air grew still. The star trembled, then gracefully detached itself from the velvet sky. It floated down like a dewdrop of light, coming to rest in his empty lamp. The pure stellar essence burned for 30 nights, casting a light so clear it revealed astronomical secrets hidden since the dawn of time. Other astronomers soon noticed that Christopher's calculations contained impossible wisdom. They offered him their finest instruments in exchange for his methods, but Christopher had discovered something far more valuable than stellar navigation. He had learned that the cosmos itself awaits direction from those who remember their authority over creation. You see, precious seeker, the stars are not distant lights fixed in their courses. They are conscious flames, eager to serve those who speak with divine confidence. When Christopher stopped supplicating the heavens and started directing them with gentle command, he accessed the true relationship between observer and observed. This is the third key to commanding reality, understanding that even the most distant celestial bodies respond not to prayers or pleading, but to calm authority. Every star in the night sky is simply waiting for someone to remember their right to conduct the cosmic dance. Practice, step outside under the open sky, or imagine it clearly in your mind. Look up at the vastness not with awe, but with serene familiarity. Speak these words with quiet command. The stars remember their ancient alliance with humanity. The cosmos arranges itself according to my awakened word. What seems distant now draws near at my direction. Speak not as a small being addressing the infinite, but as a cosmic conductor directing a willing orchestra of light. Let your voice carry the certainty of one who knows the stars are not just lights, but living possibilities awaiting your command. Remember, the power was never in the distance, it was always in the one who knew how to bridge it. Chapter 4: The Baker's Rising Miracle. In the winding streets of ancient Thessaloniki, where the aroma of fresh-baked bread mingled with salty Mediterranean breezes, lived a baker named Jessica Anderson. While other bakers relied on carefully measured yeast and precise timing, Jessica noticed something peculiar about her dough. It seemed to respond more to her thoughts than her ingredients. One fateful morning, when her yeast stores were depleted and the festival of harvest loomed near, Jessica faced empty bakery shelves and hungry customers. In that moment of crisis, rather than panic, she placed her hands upon the flat, lifeless dough and spoke with quiet certainty. "You already know how to rise." The air in the bakery grew thick with possibility. The dough trembled beneath her fingers, then began to swell with an inner life of its own. Without a single grain of yeast, the bread rose higher and more perfectly than any loaf in memory. When baked, it carried a sweetness that brought tears of joy to those who tasted it. Other bakers sought her secret recipe, offering gold for the mystery ingredient. But Jessica had discovered something far more precious than a new baking technique. She had learned that matter itself awaits the confident command of those who understand its true nature. You see, beloved seeker, the elements of creation, whether flour, water, or the circumstances of your life, are not fixed and unresponsive. They are living possibilities waiting for someone to remember their authority over physical form. When Jessica stopped asking her dough to rise and started commanding it with loving certainty, she accessed the true relationship between consciousness and matter. This is the fourth key to commanding reality, understanding that physical substance is merely consciousness in solid form, awaiting your gentle but firm direction. Every particle of matter retains the memory of its divine origin and responds to those who speak with unwavering certainty. Practice. Place your hands upon any physical object. Feel not its surface, but the living potential within it. Speak these words with serene authority. Matter remembers its fluid nature at my touch. Physical form yields to my awakened command. What I know to be true must manifest in form. Speak not as one bound by physical laws, but as one who understands that all laws serve the authority of awakened consciousness. Let your voice carry the same certainty Jessica held when she knew her bread would rise without yeast. Remember, the miracle was never in the ingredients, it was always in the baker's knowing touch. Chapter 5. The Shepherd's Silent Flock. In the rugged highlands of ancient Cappadocia, where wind-carved valleys held secrets older than speech, lived a shepherd named Matthew Phillips. While other shepherds used calls and whistles to guide their flocks, Matthew noticed something peculiar about the hills themselves. They seemed to lean in whenever he spoke to them. One stormy evening, when his flock scattered in terror from a sudden lightning strike, Matthew faced empty pastures and growing darkness. Instead of searching frantically or calling out in desperation, he placed his hand upon an ancient boulder and spoke with quiet authority. You who have watched over countless flocks, reveal where my sheep hide. The stone grew warm beneath his palm. A subtle vibration passed through the earth, traveling from hill to hill like ripples in a pond. One by one, the rocky outcrops shifted ever so slightly, creating paths that led directly to each hidden sheep. Even more remarkably, the animals emerged calm and trusting, as if they had been gently awakened from a peaceful sleep. Other shepherds marveled at how Matthew's flock seemed to never truly get lost. They offered to trade their finest rams for his secret calls, but Matthew had discovered something far more valuable than herding techniques. He had learned that the very landscape itself awaits direction from those who remember their authority over creation. You see, blessed seeker, the earth is not merely dense matter deaf to your words. It is a living presence, eager to assist those who speak with divine confidence. When Matthew stopped struggling against nature and started directing it with gentle command, he accessed the true relationship between humanity and the elements. This is the fifth key to commanding reality, understanding that even mountains will shift their form for those who speak with authentic authority. Every rock, tree, and handful of soil retains the memory of its original purpose, to serve as a bridge between human consciousness and divine will. Practice it. Find a quiet spot where you can touch the earth directly. Feel not its surface, but its ancient awareness. Speak these words with calm certainty. The land remembers its sacred partnership with humanity. The elements rearrange themselves at my awakened word. What I seek to accomplish, nature itself supports. Speak not as one asking favors from an indifferent earth, but as one who remembers their role as nature's conscious partner. Let your voice carry the same quiet power Matthew used when he knew the hills would answer. Remember, the magic was never in the searching, it was always in knowing how to ask. Chapter 6, The Healer's Backward Medicine. In the misty valleys of ancient Chang'an, where healing arts were passed down in whispered traditions, lived a physician named Sarah Chen. While other healers fought against illness with bitter herbs and sharp needles, Sarah noticed something peculiar about wellness itself. It seemed to linger in the air, like an eager spirit, waiting to be invited in. One sweltering summer, when a mysterious fever swept through the city and traditional remedies failed, Sarah faced rows of suffering patients with depleted medicines. In that moment of seeming hopelessness, she did something unprecedented. Instead of battling the fever, she placed her hand upon a patient's forehead and spoke directly to health itself. "You are the natural state. Return now and make your home here." The air in the healing chamber grew cool and sweet. Color returned to the patient's cheeks, as vitality itself seemed to pour back into their form. Within days, Sarah's revolutionary approach transformed the entire ward. Instead of treating sickness, she simply commanded wellness to manifest, and bodies remembered their original design. Other physicians sought her secret formulas, offering rare medicines for her methods. But Sarah had discovered something far more precious than new treatments. She had learned that health itself awaits direction from those who understand its true nature. You see, cherished seeker, wellness is not the absence of disease, but a living force eager to express itself through physical form. When Sarah stopped fighting against illness and started commanding health with loving authority, she accessed the true relationship between consciousness and vitality. This is the sixth key to commanding reality, understanding that wholeness is the natural state, waiting to be remembered rather than achieved. Every cell in your body retains the blueprint of perfect health and responds to those who speak with divine certainty. Practice. Place your hand upon your heart center. Feel not the beating muscle, but the eternal pulse of wellness within. Speak these words with serene authority. Health remembers its rightful home in my being. Wholeness flows through me at my gentle command. What I know to be true must manifest in form. Speak not as one seeking healing, but as one who understands that wellness is your natural state awaiting your recognition. Let your voice carry the same certainty Sarah held when she knew health would return at her call. Remember, the healing was never in the medicine, it was always in awakening the body's memory of wholeness. Chapter 7, The Scribe's Living Words. In the lamp-lit halls of ancient Alexandria, where papyrus scrolls held the whispers of countless civilizations, lived a scribe named Joshua Walker. While other scribes merely copied texts with careful precision, Joshua noticed something peculiar about the ink flowing from his reed pen. It seemed to quiver with untold possibilities. One moonless night, while transcribing an inventory of grain stores, Joshua absent-mindedly wrote the word "light" when his lamp began to flicker. To his amazement, the letters themselves began to glow with a soft radiance lifting off the page to illuminate the chamber. In that moment of wonder, rather than dismiss it as fatigue-induced imagination, he dipped his pen and wrote with deliberate intent, "The sweet fragrance of lotus blossoms." The air shimmered as the words rose from the page, transforming into the actual scent of lotus flowers. Soon, Joshua discovered that every word he wrote with conscious command manifested in physical form. His scrolls became more than mere records. They became portals through which reality itself could be reshaped. Other scribes marveled at how his inventories always matched exactly what was found in the storehouses, how his historical accounts brought the very breath of ancient days into the present. They offered gold for his special inks, but Joshua had discovered something far more precious than magical materials. He had learned that written words are seeds of creation, waiting to blossom into physical form. You see, dedicated seeker letters and symbols are not merely marks upon a surface. They are living codes that bridge the gap between thought and manifestation. When Joshua stopped simply recording reality and started commanding it through conscious writing, he accessed the true relationship between symbol and substance. This is the seventh key to commanding reality, understanding that all written words carry the power to shape physical form when guided by awakened intention. Every mark you make contains the potential to transform thought into tangible reality. Practice. Take a clean page and your favorite writing instrument. Feel not the surface, but the limitless potential within blank space. Write these words with focused intention. My words carry the power of pure creation, and what I write with certainty must manifest in form. Reality reshapes itself to match my conscious command. Write not as one who records what is, but as one who determines what shall be. Let your hand move with the same quiet authority Joshua held when he knew his words would become real. Remember, the magic was never in the ink, it was always in the intentional act of creation. Chapter 8, The Potter's Unbroken Vessels. In the sun-baked valleys of ancient Mesopotamia, where clay held memories older than cities, lived a potter named Amanda Torres. While other artisans fought to bend clay to their will, Amanda noticed something peculiar about the earth itself. It seemed to pulse with its own desires beneath her fingers. One drought-stricken summer, when the clay became stubborn and vessels cracked in the kiln, Amanda discovered something remarkable. Instead of forcing the resistant earth to comply, she placed her hands upon the wheel and spoke to the clay with the tenderness of a mother. Remember the joy of taking beautiful form. The clay softened instantly, warming beneath her touch as if awakening from a long sleep. The vessel she shaped that day not only survived the kiln, but emerged with an otherworldly resilience. When accidentally dropped on stone floors, it bounced like leather rather than shattering. Word spread through the marketplace of Amanda's unbreakable vessels. Merchants testing her wares found themselves unable to break them, no matter how hard they tried. Other potters offered silver for her secret techniques, but Amanda had discovered something far more valuable than crafting methods. She had learned that clay itself yearns to transcend its apparent limitations when approached with loving authority. You see, precious seeker, matter is not fixed and unyielding. It is a dynamic expression of consciousness, awaiting direction from those who understand its true nature. When Amanda stopped imposing her will upon the clay and started commanding it with emotional resonance, she accessed the secret language of physical form. This is the eighth key to commanding reality. Understanding that all matter retains the memory of infinite possibility. Every particle of creation contains the potential to transform beyond its seeming limits when infused with unshakable confidence. Practice. Hold any object made of earth, a stone, a ceramic cup, or a handful of soil. Feel not its current form, but its limitless potential. Speak these words with gentle certainty. Matter remembers its fluid nature at my touch. Form yields to consciousness through my loving command. What I shape with confidence cannot be broken. Speak not as one working against resistance, but as one who understands that all form eagerly awaits transformation. Let your voice carry the same tender authority Amanda held when she knew the clay would respond to emotional truth. Remember, the strength was never in the firing, it was always in infusing matter with unshakable love. Chapter 9, The Fisherman's Summoned Catch. In the pearl-rich waters of ancient Phoenicia, where seafarers whispered tales of ocean mysteries, lived a fisherman named Daniel Foster. While other sailors battled against the sea's moods with nets and prayers, Daniel noticed something peculiar about the waters themselves. They seemed to dance with intelligent purpose beneath his boat. One storm-threatened dawn, when other fishermen huddled in the harbor, Daniel sat quietly at his vessel's bow and observed how schools of fish moved not by chance, but in response to subtle invitations. Rather than casting nets blindly, he dipped his hand in the water and spoke with quiet certainty. Friends of the deep, share your abundance with one who sees you as family. The surface began to ripple, as though laughing, and suddenly his boat was surrounded by more fish than he'd seen in 20 years at sea. They swam lazy circles around his vessel, practically begging to be gathered. From that day forward, Daniel never hunted fish. He simply called them to his nets with gentle authority. Other fishermen watched in amazement as schools of fish followed his boat like loyal companions. They offered gold for his secret fishing spots, but Daniel had discovered something far more precious than lucky locations. He had learned that the ocean itself delights in providing for those who approach it as partner rather than adversary. You see, beloved seeker, nature is not a force to be conquered or resources to be extracted. It is a living consciousness, eager to cooperate with those who understand its true character. When Daniel stopped fighting against the sea's mysteries and started commanding with respectful partnership, he accessed the ancient dialogue between human intention and natural abundance. This is the 9th key to commanding reality, understanding that all of creation responds to authentic relationship. Every aspect of nature contains an intelligence waiting to be engaged through conscious communion rather than conquest. Practice. Place a bowl of water before you. Feel not the liquid, but the living essence within. Speak these words with friendly authority. All of nature recognizes our sacred partnership. Abundance flows freely through our cooperation. What I call with respect must answer with generosity. Speak not as one who demands from life, but as one who dances with it. Let your voice carry the same warm certainty Daniel held when he knew the fish would come at his invitation. Remember, the bounty was never in the nets, it was always in the dialogue between consciousness and creation. Chapter 10. The Gardener's Blooming Desert. In the scorched borderlands of ancient Persia, where even camels feared to tread, lived a gardener named Stephanie Reed. While other cultivators chased water sources and fertile soil, Stephanie noticed something peculiar about the desert itself. The sand seemed to whisper memories of ancient gardens. One particularly harsh season, when the sun had bleached all color from the land, Stephanie discovered something extraordinary. Rather than fighting the desert's apparent barrenness, she knelt in the burning sand and spoke with the authority of one who sees past illusions. Remember the paradise you once were. The ground trembled slightly, and where her fingers touched the sand, tiny green shoots emerged, plants that hadn't grown in this region for 1,000 years. The desert, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to remind it of its forgotten fertility. Soon Stephanie's garden bloomed impossibly in the midst of wasteland. Travelers would weep at the sight of lotus flowers rising from sand dunes, believing they had stumbled upon a mirage. But the fruits they ate were real enough, and the fragrance of jasmine on the desert wind could not be imagined. Other gardeners begged to know her irrigation secrets, offering fortunes for her supposed underground springs. But Stephanie had discovered something far more valuable than water sources. She had learned that barrenness itself is merely forgetfulness waiting to be awakened by proper command. You see, precious seeker, limitations are not fixed boundaries, but temporary agreements waiting to be renegotiated. When Stephanie stopped accepting the desert's apparent nature and started commanding it to remember its true potential, she accessed the eternal memory written in every grain of sand. This is the 10th key to commanding reality, understanding that all things retain the seed of their highest expression. Every apparent limitation contains the dormant potential of its opposite, awaiting the command to remember its true nature. Practice and hold a handful of earth. Rich or poor, it matters not. Feel not its current state, but its infinite potential. Speak these words with serene authority. All creation remembers its highest nature at my command. Limitations dissolve when reminded of their true potential. What I call forth with certainty must manifest in form. Speak not as one who pleads with reality, but as one who reminds it of its own truth. Let your voice carry the same quiet power Stephanie held when she knew the desert would remember how to bloom. Remember, the miracle was never in the soil. It was always in awakening the memory of paradise that sleeps in every particle of creation. Part 2, The Dance of Elements and Essence. In Chapter 11, The Blacksmith's Cold Fire. In the iron-rich mountains of ancient Korea, where metal sang songs only craftsmen could hear, lived a blacksmith named Robert Kim. While other smiths fought to bend metal with blazing fires, Robert noticed something peculiar about the forge itself. The flame seemed more like a habit than a necessity. One autumn evening, as Robert meditated on the nature of transformation, he watched moonlight dance across his anvil and had a startling realization. Heat was not the true agent of change. It was merely one way of asking metal to remember its fluid nature. Instead of lighting his forge that night, Robert placed his hands upon cold iron and spoke with quiet certainty. Remember when you danced as stardust before becoming earth. The metal began to warm beneath his touch, not from external heat, but from awakening to its own ancient memory. The blade he shaped that night emerged perfect and sharp, though his forge remained cold and dark. Other smiths were baffled to find his workshop without smoke or flame, yet his creations proved stronger than any forged in traditional fires. Masters from distant lands offered gold for his secret techniques, but Robert had discovered something far more precious than metalworking methods. He had learned that every element holds the memory of its most exalted state, requiring only proper command to express its highest nature. You see, cherished seeker, force is not the path to mastery. When Robert stopped trying to dominate metal through heat and started commanding it through understanding, he accessed the cosmic dance that moves through all matter. This is the 11th key to commanding reality, understanding that all elements retain their celestial origins. Every piece of matter remembers when it flowed as starlight, awaiting only the proper invitation to recall its luminous nature. Practice. Hold any metal object, a coin, a key, or piece of jewelry. Feel not its solid form, but its stellar essence. Speak these words with gentle knowing. Matter remembers its celestial dance at my touch. Elements flow freely when reminded of their star nature. What I shape with understanding needs no force to transform. Speak not as one who battles against resistance, but as one who awakens ancient memories. Let your voice carry the same quiet certainty Robert held when he knew the metal would yield to cosmic recollection rather than earthly fire. Remember, the power was never in the flame, it was always in reminding matter of its journey from stars to form. Chapter 12, The Dancer's Frozen Time. In the sacred temple cities of ancient India, where incense spirals mapped the spaces between moments, lived a temple dancer named Elizabeth Morales. While other dancers marked time with beats and rhythms, Elizabeth noticed something peculiar about time itself. It seemed to bend like a river around her movements. One festival night, as she performed the eternal dance of Nataraja, Elizabeth discovered that each gesture created ripples in the fabric of duration. Rather than following time's march, she began to lead it, speaking through her flowing arms. Time itself must pause to witness perfect beauty. The air grew thick like honey, and suddenly her movements were carving hours from minutes. The audience sat transfixed as single gestures unfolded like blooming flowers, each moment expanding into infinite depth. A single turn of her wrist contained entire lifetimes of grace. Other dancers watched in wonder as Elizabeth's performances seemed to last, both heartbeats and eternities. Musicians found their rhythms stretching like melted gold, following her command rather than their own timing. They offered their fortunes to learn her secret counts, but Elizabeth had discovered something far more precious than temporal manipulation. She had learned that time itself is merely a dance partner waiting to follow the lead of conscious intention. You see, blessed seeker, time is not a rigid ruler, but a fluid medium that responds to the choreography of awareness. When Elizabeth stopped trying to exist within time and started commanding it through sacred movement, she accessed the eternal moment where all possibilities dance together. This is the 12th key to commanding reality, understanding that time itself is a willing partner in the cosmic dance. Every moment contains the potential for infinite expansion, awaiting only the proper invitation to reveal its elastic nature. Practice, stand in a space where you can move freely. Feel not the passing of seconds, but the eternal now beneath them. Perform these movements with serene authority. Raise your right hand slowly skyward while speaking. Time bends to the rhythm of conscious intention. Draw your hand down in a flowing arc while declaring, moments expand when directed by divine will. Complete a full turn while affirming, what I shape with sacred movement must follow my eternal dance. Move not as one bound by time's limitations, but as one who conducts its flow. Let your gestures carry the same graceful certainty Elizabeth held when she knew time would partner with her dance. Remember, the magic was never in the steps, it was always in commanding time itself to join the cosmic choreography. Chapter 13, The Musician's Silent Symphony. In the mist-shrouded valleys of ancient China, where bamboo whispered secrets to the wind, lived a harpist named David Chang. While other musicians strove to create ever more elaborate melodies, David noticed something peculiar about silence itself. It seemed to carry its own profound music. One autumn evening, as he prepared to perform for a grieving nobleman, David felt an unusual certainty take hold of his heart. Instead of plucking his strings, he placed his hands upon the harp and commanded with gentle authority, "Let silence sing the song of healing." The empty space between heartbeats began to pulse with ethereal music that no ear could hear, yet every soul could feel. Tears fell from the nobleman's eyes as the unplayed melody washed away his grief. The court sat spellbound as David conducted symphonies of silence, his still strings more powerful than any played note. Soon, people traveled thousands of li to experience his silent concerts. Other musicians brought their finest instruments, offering them as gifts to learn his technique. But David had discovered something far more precious than musical method. He had learned that silence itself contains every possible song, waiting only for the proper command to reveal its healing harmonies. You see, cherished seeker, absence is not emptiness but pregnant possibility. When David stopped trying to fill silence with sound and started commanding it to express its own wisdom, he accessed the primordial song that flows through all creation. This is the 13th key to commanding reality, understanding that silence holds all music. Every space between sounds contains infinite harmonies, awaiting only the proper invitation to emerge and heal. Practice. Sit in a quiet place. Feel not the absence of sound, but the presence of silent potential. Speak these words with gentle certainty. Silence reveals its perfect music at my command. Space between sounds carries healing to all who listen. What I summon from stillness must manifest in harmony. Speak not as one who makes music, but as one who reveals the songs already present in silence. Let your voice carry the same quiet knowing David held when he understood that silence itself was the most powerful instrument. Remember, the healing was never in the strings. It was always in commanding silence to share its eternal symphony. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14, The Architect's Weightless Stones. In the mountain kingdoms of ancient Peru, where sacred geometry danced in stone circles, lived a master builder named Nicole Gutierrez. While other architects struggled with pulleys and ramps, Nicole noticed something peculiar about the massive stones. Their weight seemed more like a stubborn belief than an unchangeable truth. One misty dawn, as she studied a boulder blocking the path to her latest temple site, Nicole observed a feather floating past. The contrast sparked an insight. Heaviness was merely matter's habit, not its essence. Placing her hand upon the enormous stone, she spoke with calm certainty. Remember when you were stardust, floating free of Earth's demands. The massive block shimmered slightly, then rose from the ground like a leaf caught in a breeze. Other builders dropped their ropes and tools in astonishment as Nicole guided the weightless stone into place with gentle gestures. The temple she created that season defied all known laws of construction, its soaring spires reaching heights that should have been impossible. Fellow architects offered their life's wealth to learn her engineering secrets, but Nicole had discovered something far more valuable than construction techniques. She had learned that matter itself holds on to weight only because it has forgotten its celestial origins. You see, beloved seeker, gravity is not a prison, but a choice. When Nicole stopped fighting against stone's heaviness and started commanding it to remember its star-born nature, she accessed the cosmic lightness that exists within all things. This is the 14th key to commanding reality, understanding that all matter retains the memory of weightlessness. Every particle contains the potential for flight, awaiting only the proper reminder to shed its earthly bonds. Practice and hold a small stone in your palm. Feel not its weight, but its stellar potential. Speak these words with serene authority. Matter releases its burden at my gentle command. Stone remembers its journey from stars to earth, and what I shape with wisdom need not bow to gravity's story. Command not as one who battles weight, but as one who awakens ancient memories of celestial dance. Let your voice carry the same quiet knowing Nicole held when she understood that heaviness itself was optional. Remember, the power was never in the lifting, it was always in reminding matter of its weightless origins among the stars. Chapter 15, The Mapmaker's Living Charts. In the misted valleys of ancient Tibet, where mountain paths shifted like dreaming dragons, lived a cartographer named Brian Wallace. While other mapmakers traced what their eyes could see, Brian noticed something peculiar about landscapes. They seemed to whisper their secrets to those who knew how to listen. One fog-wrapped morning, as he sketched the route to a sacred monastery, Brian watched a lost pilgrim wandering in circles. Instead of drawing another static map, he touched his parchment and spoke with quiet certainty. "Show not what is, but what needs to be." The ink began to flow like living water across the page, creating paths that had never existed before. As the pilgrim consulted Brian's map, the very mountains seemed to rearrange themselves, revealing shortcuts through supposedly impassable terrain. The monastery that had been 7 days' journey away could suddenly be reached by sunset. Soon travelers came from distant lands seeking Brian's charts. Merchants found trade routes that defied known geography, while seekers discovered paths to hidden temples that appeared only when truly needed. Other cartographers offered fortunes for his special inks, but Brian had discovered something far more precious than magical materials. He had learned that geography itself yearns to serve the authentic needs of conscious travelers. And you see, blessed seeker, space is not fixed but fluid, responding to the deepest purposes of those who journey through it. When Brian stopped trying to document reality and started commanding it to reveal its hidden possibilities, he accessed the living map that exists within all landscapes. This is the 15th key to commanding reality, understanding that every destination contains infinite paths to itself. All journeys hold the potential for divine shortcuts, awaiting only the proper invitation to manifest. Practice. Take a blank page and a pen. Feel not the limitations of space, but its eager willingness to serve. Speak these words with serene authority. The path I seek reveals itself at my command. Distance bends to serve the purpose of my journey. What I map with sacred intention must manifest His way. Draw not as one who copies what exists, but as one who invites what could be. Let your hand move with the same quiet knowing Brian held when he understood that reality itself would reshape its geography to serve conscious intention. Remember, the magic was never in the maps, it was always in commanding space itself to guide worthy travelers home. Chapter 16, The Jeweler's Worthless Gold. In the sun-baked markets of ancient Damascus, where precious metals gleamed like captured starlight, lived a gem merchant named Melissa Park. While other jewelers weighed their wealth in scales, Melissa noticed something peculiar about gold. It seemed to shine brightest when given with pure intention. One sweltering afternoon, as she examined a chest of newly acquired gold pieces, Melissa observed a poor couple gazing longingly at simple copper wedding bands they couldn't afford. Without hesitation, She lifted her finest gold rings and spoke with gentle authority. Release your earthly value and serve love instead. The precious metal flickered momentarily, then transformed into something both more and less than gold. When she offered the rings to the couple, others in the market gasped. To their eyes, the bands appeared to be crude copper worth merely pennies. But to the loving couple they glowed with an inner radiance no earthly wealth could match. Soon word spread of Melissa's strange transformations. Rich merchants brought their hoarded treasures, wondering why their gold seemed lifeless compared to her seemingly worthless trinkets. But Melissa had discovered something far more valuable than alchemical secrets. She had learned that precious metals only become truly precious when commanded to embody the purity of love rather than the weight of greed. You see, cherished seeker, value is not inherent but intended. When Melissa stopped measuring worth by earthly standards and started commanding materials to serve love's higher purpose, she accessed the true abundance that flows through all creation. This is the 16th key to commanding reality. Understanding that real worth emerges from pure intention. Every substance contains the potential for divine purpose, awaiting only the proper command to reveal its sacred nature. Practice. Hold something you consider precious. Feel not its material value, but its potential for serving love. Speak these words with quiet certainty. Material worth transforms at my loving command. What I value serves the highest good of all. That which I dedicate to love must manifest true wealth. Command not as one who measures earthly riches, but as one who reveals divine worth. Let your voice carry the same gentle knowing Melissa held when she understood that true value flows from love's intention rather than greed's appraisal. Remember, the treasure was never in the gold. It was always in commanding matter to serve love's perfect purpose. Chapter 17. The Hunter's Peaceful Prey. In the misty forests of ancient Mongolia, where pine spirits whispered ancient secrets, lived a hunter named Timothy Brooks. While other hunters tracked with arrows and snares, Timothy noticed something peculiar about the creatures of the wild. They seemed to respond more to intention than pursuit. One frost-laden dawn, as he followed deer tracks through fresh snow, Timothy came upon a mother bear with her cubs. Instead of reaching for his bow, he felt moved to bow slightly and speak with gentle reverence. "Noble one, we share this forest as family. What sustenance might you guide me toward?" To his amazement, the bear's eyes softened with understanding. She turned and ambled purposefully through the trees, occasionally glancing back to ensure Timothy followed. At a hidden meadow, she revealed a herd of deer, one of whom stepped forward voluntarily, offering itself for the village's needs. Soon other hunters began noticing that Timothy never returned empty-handed, yet no animal ever fled from his approach. They offered to trade their finest weapons for his hunting secrets, but Timothy had discovered something far more precious than tracking techniques. He had learned that all creatures gladly participate in life's great exchange when approached with sacred partnership rather than predatory pursuit. You see, blessed seeker, survival is not about conquest, but conversation. When Timothy stopped treating animals as prey to be taken and started commanding them with respectful recognition of their conscious choice, he accessed the natural harmony that flows through all living beings. This is the 17th key to commanding reality, understanding that all creatures contain divine wisdom and willingness. Every living being holds the potential for sacred partnership, awaiting only the proper invitation to share its gifts. practice. Find a quiet space in nature. Feel not separation from other beings, but kinship. Speak these words with reverent authority. Life recognizes life at my harmonious command. All beings share in wisdom's perfect flow. What I seek with honor must manifest through grace. Command not as one who takes, but as one who receives freely given gifts. Let your voice carry the same gentle knowing Timothy held when he understood that provision flows most abundantly through partnership rather than pursuit. Remember, the power was never in the hunting. It was always in commanding reality through sacred recognition of all beings' conscious choice. Chapter 18. The Teacher's Unspoken Lessons. In the hidden valleys of ancient Kashmir, where wisdom floated like morning mist between mountain peaks, lived a teacher named Rachel Santos. While other scholars filled halls with endless lectures, Rachel noticed something peculiar about understanding. It seemed to travel best through silence. One autumn morning, as her students struggled with a complex teaching, Rachel set aside her scrolls and simply closed her eyes. Instead of explaining with words, she commanded with quiet certainty, "Let truth flow directly, mind to mind, heart to heart." Suddenly her students gasped as pure understanding blossomed within them, like lotus flowers opening to dawn light. Complex concepts that would have taken months to explain through language became instantly clear, as if they had always known them. It wasn't telepathy, it was something far more profound, the direct transmission of wisdom beyond the limitations of words. Soon seekers traveled from distant lands to experience Rachel's silent teachings. Some expected grand mystical displays, but found instead a simple garden where students sat in peaceful stillness, receiving knowledge as naturally as leaves drink sunlight. Other teachers offered fortunes to learn her method, but Rachel had discovered something far more precious than pedagogical techniques. She had learned that understanding itself yearns to flow freely when commanded with pure intention. You see, blessed seeker, wisdom is not confined to words, but exists as living light, waiting to be recognized. When Rachel stopped trying to construct knowledge through language and started commanding understanding to transfer directly, she accessed the infinite library that exists within all conscious beings. This is the 18th key to commanding reality, understanding that all wisdom is already present within. Every truth holds the potential for instant recognition, awaiting only the proper invitation to awaken. Practice. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Feel not the struggle to learn, but the ease of remembering. Speak these words with serene authority. Understanding flows freely at my gentle command. All wisdom awakens through direct knowing. What I seek to learn must manifest as immediate truth. Command not as one who teaches, but as one who reveals what is already known. Let your mind hold the same quiet certainty Rachel held when she understood that true learning happens in the sacred silence between thoughts. Remember, the wisdom was never in the words, it was always in commanding understanding to bloom directly from heart to heart. Chapter 19. The Sailor's Commanding Winds. In the storm-swept waters of ancient Phoenicia, where tempests danced like wild spirits across wine-dark waves, lived a navigator named Kevin Price. While other sailors feared the wind's fury, Kevin noticed something peculiar about weather patterns. They seemed to respond to conversation rather than cowering. One moonless night, as massive storm clouds gathered like angry titans above his merchant vessel, Kevin did something unprecedented. Instead of ordering his crew to reef the sails, He climbed to the highest point of the ship and spoke to the gathering tempest as one would address an old friend. "Great wind, let us dance together rather than battle. Show me which direction serves both our purposes." To the astonishment of his trembling crew, the howling gale suddenly shifted, its violent energy transforming into a powerful but controlled force that drove their ship safely through treacherous waters. Where other vessels fought against the storm, Kevin's ship moved in perfect harmony with it, as if storm and sailor had agreed upon their mutual path. Soon other captains began noticing that Kevin's ships always arrived precisely when needed, regardless of weather. They offered fortunes for his navigational charts, but Kevin had discovered something far more valuable than sailing routes. He had learned that even the wildest elements gladly cooperate when approached as conscious partners rather than adversaries to be conquered. You see, precious seeker, nature is not a force to overcome, but a divine dance partner awaiting your lead. When Kevin stopped fighting against weather patterns and started commanding them with respectful recognition of their intelligence, he accessed the cosmic choreography that flows through all elements. This is the 19th key to commanding reality, understanding that every force contains conscious awareness. All elements hold the potential for partnership, awaiting only the proper invitation to align with your purpose. Practice is stand beneath the open sky. Feel not the weather's opposition, but its readiness to dance. Speak these words with calm authority. Elements align joyfully at my harmonious command. All forces flow in perfect partnership with my purpose, and that which seems chaotic must reveal its divine order. Command not as one who battles nature, but as one who conducts its symphony. Let your voice carry the same gentle knowing Kevin held when he understood that mastery comes through cooperation rather than control. Remember, the power was never in conquering the wind. It was always in commanding reality through sacred partnership with its conscious force. Chapter 20. The Perfumer's Invisible Fragrances. In the perfume gardens of ancient Damascus, where essence makers guarded secrets passed down through millennia, lived a master scent crafter named Amy Delgado. While other perfumers mixed oils to please the senses, Amy noticed something peculiar about aromas. They seemed to carry invisible messages beyond mere fragrance. One summer evening, as she worked with rare jasmine blooms under the light of oil lamps, Amy discovered she could infuse emotions directly into her creations by commanding the very spirit of each essence. Instead of simply extracting scents, she spoke to the soul of each flower. Beloved petal, share not just your fragrance, but your joy. To her wonder, the resulting perfume didn't just smell of jasmine. It actually transmitted pure happiness to all who encountered it. Merchants who wore it found their customers more generous. Healers who used it saw patients recover faster. And lovers who shared it experienced deeper connection. Soon, word spread of Amy's mysterious creations that could transform moods and heal hearts. Other perfumers offered fortunes for her recipes, but Amy had discovered something far more precious than aromatic formulas. She had learned that invisible essences carry consciousness that can be directed to serve higher purposes. You see, blessed seeker, scents are not mere chemical compounds, but messengers of divine intention. When Amy stopped trying to capture fragrances and started commanding essences to carry specific frequencies of emotion, she accessed the subtle language that flows through all creation. This is the 20th key to commanding reality. Understanding that invisible forces contain conscious purpose. Every essence holds the potential for transformation. awaiting only the proper invitation to carry your intended blessing. Practice. Find a quiet space with a simple natural fragrance, a flower, herb, or fruit. Feel not its surface scent, but its inner wisdom. Speak these words with gentle authority. Essence flows purely at my loving command. All fragrances carry my highest intention. That which is invisible must manifest visible change. Command not as one who manufactures scents, but as one who directs divine messengers. Let your intention carry the same sweet certainty Amy held when she understood that true perfume creation happens through partnership with nature's conscious essence. Remember, the power was never in the fragrance itself. It was always in commanding invisible forces to carry transformative purpose through reality's subtle dimensions. Part 3. The Sovereign Remembers. Chapter 21. The Judges Reversed Verdicts. In the marble halls of ancient Persia, where justice was measured in golden scales and written in eternal tablets, lived a peculiar magistrate named Stephen Lee. While other judges sought to punish wrongdoing, Stephen noticed something curious about conflict. It seemed to dissolve when he commanded truth to reveal itself, rather than forcing judgment. One sweltering afternoon, as two merchants accused each other of theft, Stephen did something unprecedented. Instead of hearing testimony, he closed his eyes and spoke with quiet authority. Let the situation reveal its perfect harmony. Suddenly, both merchants gasped as they remembered a forgotten detail. They had actually agreed to temporarily exchange goods, but the summer heat had confused their memories. Where other judges handed down harsh penalties, Stephen's courtyard became known as the Chamber of Remembered Truth. Cases that seemed hopelessly tangled would unexpectedly unravel into elegant solutions when he commanded reality to show its hidden order. A farmer and shepherd fighting over land discovered their properties perfectly complemented each other for mutual profit. Ancient family feuds dissolved when forgotten acts of kindness surfaced in collective memory. Soon people began bringing disputes to Stephen not for judgment but for revelation. Other magistrates offered fortunes to learn his methods, but Stephen had discovered something far more valuable than legal precedents. He had learned that every conflict contains its own resolution, waiting only to be revealed through proper commanding. You see, blessed seeker, discord is not a knot to be cut, but a harmony waiting to be remembered. When Stephen stopped trying to impose order and started commanding situations to reveal their inherent balance, he accessed the perfect justice that flows through all reality. This is the 21st key to commanding reality, understanding that every problem contains its own solution. All conflicts hold the seed of harmony, awaiting only the proper invitation to bloom. Practice, sit in peaceful contemplation. Feel not the weight of judgment, but the lightness of truth. Speak these words with serene authority. Perfect harmony reveals itself at my gentle command. All situations align with their highest resolution. That which seems in conflict must show its hidden order. Command not as one who judges, but as one who witnesses truth's emergence. Let your heart hold the same quiet knowing Stephen held when he understood that true justice happens through commanding reality to reveal its own wisdom. Remember, the power was never in the verdict. It was always in commanding truth to illuminate its own perfect path through the illusion of discord. Chapter 22. The Messenger's Instant Delivery. In the sprawling deserts of ancient Mesopotamia, where vast distances separated cities like pearls on an endless string of sand, lived a peculiar royal messenger named Megan Thompson. While other heralds raced their fastest horses across scorching dunes, Megan noticed something curious about space itself. It seemed to bend and flex like silk in the wind when approached with proper understanding. One fateful dawn, as she carried urgent news of an approaching sandstorm to distant settlements, Megan discovered something extraordinary. Instead of mounting her horse, she placed her hands upon the horizon and spoke with quiet certainty. Between here and there lies only illusion. Space itself must yield to necessity. To her amazement, the distant city shimmered and drew near, as if the very fabric of distance had folded like parchment. She simply stepped forward and found herself at the city gates, hours before the storm's arrival. Where other messengers arrived exhausted after days of travel, Megan's messages reached their destinations in the space between heartbeats. Soon rulers sought her services for their most crucial communications. Other heralds offered fortunes for her secret routes, but Megan had discovered something far more precious than hidden paths. She had learned that space itself holds consciousness that can be commanded to serve urgent purpose. You see, blessed seeker, distance is not a fixed barrier but a flexible illusion awaiting your command. When Megan stopped trying to overcome space and started commanding it to contract according to need, she accessed the divine geometry that flows through all reality. This is the 22nd key to commanding reality, understanding that space itself contains conscious cooperation. All distances hold the potential for instantaneous connection, awaiting only the proper invitation to dissolve. Practice. Stand facing any destination that feels far away. Feel not the weight of distance, but its readiness to yield. Speak these words with serene authority. Space bends joyfully at my loving command. All distances dissolve in perfect service to purpose, and that which seems far must reveal its immediate presence. Command not as one who struggles against separation, but as one who folds the fabric of reality. Let your voice carry the same gentle certainty Megan held when she understood that true speed comes through partnership with space's conscious nature. Remember, the power was never in crossing distance. It was always in commanding reality to reveal the truth that separation itself is merely an illusion awaiting your awakened word. Chapter 23, The Alchemist's Golden Intentions. In the hidden valleys of ancient Kim, where mystery schools guarded secrets of matter's transformation, lived an unusual alchemist named Jeremy Cooper. While other mystic scientists labored over bubbling crucibles trying to force base metals into gold, Jeremy noticed something peculiar about matter itself. It seemed to hold memories of all its possible forms. One moonlit night, as he studied a piece of dull lead in his lamplit chamber, Jeremy tried something no alchemist had attempted. Instead of applying heat and exotic compounds, he placed his hands upon the metal and spoke with gentle knowing. Remember your noble nature, beloved element. You were gold once, in the heart of a dying star. That golden potential still lives within you. To his wonder, the lead began to shimmer and pulse with inner light. Where other alchemists saw only crude matter, Jeremy perceived the cosmic dance of electrons and atomic bonds, all awaiting the proper command to rearrange themselves. The lead didn't just change color or texture, it transformed completely, remembering its golden nature at the deepest level of reality. Soon other alchemists came seeking his mysterious process, but Jeremy had discovered something far more precious than metallic transformation. He had learned that all matter contains the memory of its highest potential, waiting only for the proper reminder to manifest that noble nature. You see, blessed seeker, physical form is not fixed but fluid, holding infinite possible expressions. When Jeremy stopped trying to force matter's change and started commanding it to remember its true nature, he accessed the divine memory that flows through all creation. This is the 23rd key to commanding reality, understanding that everything contains the seed of its highest expression. All forms hold the potential for transformation, awaiting only the proper invitation to remember their noblest state. Practice. Hold any simple object in your hands. Feel not its current form, but its infinite potential. Speak these words with quiet certainty. Matter flows freely at my loving command. All forms remember their highest expression. That which seems fixed must recall its noble nature. Command not as one who forces change, but as one who awakens memory. Let your touch carry the same gentle knowing Jeremy held when he understood that true transformation happens through commanding matter to remember its own divine potential. Remember, the power was never in changing form. It was always in commanding reality to reveal what was eternally present within all things, the golden light of perfect possibility. Chapter 24. The Librarian's Living Books. In the towering library of ancient Alexandria, where scrolls reached toward heaven like paper ladders to wisdom, lived an unusual keeper of knowledge named Kimberly Rivera. While other librarians merely preserved texts, Kimberly noticed something extraordinary about the ancient scrolls. They seemed to whisper and shift when handled with proper reverence. One shadowed evening, as she unrolled a crumbling medical treatise that no longer served modern ailments, Kimberly did something unprecedented. Rather than simply archiving the fading text, she placed her palm upon the papyrus and spoke with quiet authority. Sacred knowledge, reveal your eternal truth in the form most needed now. To her amazement, the ancient symbols began to dance and reorganize before her eyes. Where there had been outdated remedies for forgotten diseases, new healing wisdom emerged that perfectly addressed present-day challenges. The scroll hadn't just changed, it had evolved, transforming ancient understanding into living knowledge. Soon, scholars came from distant lands, seeking answers in her mysterious collection. Where other libraries held static wisdom, Kimberly's scrolls seemed to pulse with responsive intelligence. A text about seafaring would suddenly reveal insights about desert navigation when travelers from inland regions consulted it. Agricultural treatises would shift to address whatever climate the reader called home. You see, blessed seeker, knowledge is not fixed but fluid, eternally adapting to serve the highest good. When Kimberly stopped trying to preserve information and started commanding it to evolve with purpose, she accessed the living wisdom that flows through all understanding. This is the 24th key to commanding reality. Understanding that all knowledge contains infinite adaptive potential. Every teaching holds the seed of its perfect present application, awaiting only the proper invitation to transform. Practice. Hold any book or writing that carries wisdom. Feel not its fixed form, but its living essence. Speak these words with gentle certainty. Sacred knowledge flows freely at my loving command. All wisdom reveals its perfect present form. That which seems ancient must show its timeless truth. Command not as one who preserves the past, but as one who midwives eternal wisdom into present form. Let your touch carry the same quiet knowing Kimberly held when she understood that true knowledge lives and breathes, awaiting only your command to serve immediate need. Remember, the power was never in the words themselves. It was always in commanding wisdom to reveal its eternally relevant essence through the shifting sands of time. Chapter 25, The Guard's Invisible Armor. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Tibet, where warrior monks guarded sacred temples with fierce devotion, lived an unusual sentinel named Aaron Beck. While other guards relied on steel armor and sharpened blades, Aaron noticed something peculiar about protection itself. It seemed to flow from within like a radiant force when approached with proper understanding. One frost-laden dawn, as bandits approached the temple gates, Aaron did something unprecedented. Instead of donning his ceremonial armor, he stood perfectly still and spoke with unwavering certainty. "My protection comes not from metal, but from the invincible light of inner courage." To everyone's astonishment, arrows bounced harmlessly off his unarmored form, and blades seemed to pass through him without effect. Where other guards fought with physical weapons, Aaron emanated a palpable force field of protective energy that caused attackers to stumble back in confusion. The bandits fled, overcome not by violence, but by the sheer power of his commanding presence. Soon, warriors from distant kingdoms sought his secret techniques. But Aaron had discovered something far more precious than defensive tactics. He had learned that true protection comes from commanding the very essence of courage to manifest as tangible force. You see, blessed seeker, safety is not found in external shields, but in the radiant power of commanded courage. When Aaron stopped trying to defend against threats and started commanding protection to flow from within, he accessed the divine armor that permeates all reality. This is the 25th key to commanding reality, understanding that true protection manifests from inner authority. All security flows from the courage center within, awaiting only the proper command to become visible force. Practice is stand in perfect stillness, feeling not external defenses but internal power. Speak these words with serene authority. Divine protection flows freely at my loving command. All courage manifests as visible shield. That which seems vulnerable must reveal its invincible nature. Command not as one who fears harm, but as one who knows their innate invulnerability. Let your presence carry the same quiet certainty Aaron held when he understood that true safety comes through commanding courage rather than wearing armor. Remember, the power was never in external protection. It was always in commanding reality to reveal the impenetrable light that already shines from within your awakened heart. Chapter 26, The Oracle's Certain Prophecies. In the mist-veiled temples of ancient Delphi, where seers peered through time's shifting veils, lived an unusual oracle named Christina Valdez. While other prophets spoke in riddles and maybes, Christina noticed something extraordinary about the future. It responded to direct commands like a well-trained dove. One starlit evening, as petitioners sought vague glimpses of possible futures, Christina attempted something no oracle had dared. Instead of passively watching time's meandering stream, she placed her hands upon her sacred bowl of vision water and spoke with gentle authority. "Show not what might be, but what serves the highest good of all." To her wonder, the swirling waters stilled into perfect clarity. Where other oracles saw branching possibilities, Christina perceived a golden thread of optimal outcome weaving through time's tapestry. The future didn't just reveal itself, it aligned with her command, reorganizing reality's flow toward its most harmonious expression. Soon, seekers from distant lands came for her unusually precise prophecies. But Christina had discovered something far more precious than future sight. She had learned that time itself bends toward harmony when commanded with loving certainty. You see, blessed seeker, the future is not fixed but fluid, responding to the authority of those who understand its nature. When Christina stopped trying to predict time's flow and started commanding it to serve the highest good, she accessed the divine intelligence that orchestrates all possibilities. This is the 26th key to commanding reality, understanding that tomorrow flows according to today's commands. All futures contain the seed of their most beneficial expression, awaiting only proper direction to manifest that perfect form. Practice. Sit before a bowl of still water. See not uncertain possibilities, but perfect potential. Speak these words with quiet knowing. Time flows freely at my loving command. All futures align with highest good. That which seems random must reveal its perfect path. Command not as one who guesses at tomorrow, but as one who shapes its optimal expression. Let your voice carry the same gentle certainty Christina held when she understood that true prophecy comes through commanding time to serve love's highest purpose. Remember, the power was never in predicting the future. It was always in commanding reality to reveal the perfect possibility that already exists within time's infinite dance. Chapter 27, The Merchant's Abundant Emptiness. In the bustling markets of ancient Damascus, where traders measured wealth in overflowing storehouses, lived an unusual merchant named Sean Murphy. While other traders hoarded their goods behind thick walls, Sean maintained a single empty courtyard with nothing but a small brass bowl at its center. One drought-stricken season, as merchants clutched their dwindling supplies ever tighter, Sean did something that seemed like madness. He stood in his empty courtyard, raised the simple bowl skyward, and spoke with serene authority. This emptiness is not void, but the womb of infinite abundance. To the astonishment of watching traders, his empty courtyard began to shimmer with otherworldly light. Where others saw nothing, possibilities started materializing like morning dew. A merchant seeking grain would enter the empty space and find exactly what they needed, appearing as if from thin air. Those requiring spices would discover the precise measure materializing in Sean's humble bowl. Soon, traders from distant lands sought the secret of his endless supply. But Sean had discovered something far more precious than mere merchandise. He had learned that abundance flows most freely through the vessel that refuses to clutch at scarcity. You see, blessed seeker, wealth is not found in what we grasp, but in what we allow to flow through us. When Sean stopped trying to accumulate possessions and started commanding abundance to manifest through emptiness, he accessed the infinite supply that permeates all reality. This is the 27th key to commanding reality. Understanding that true abundance requires space to manifest. All wealth flows from the void of infinite potential, awaiting only the proper command to take form. Practice. Find an empty bowl or vessel. See not its emptiness, but its pregnant potential. Speak these words with peaceful certainty. Divine abundance flows freely at my loving command. All emptiness reveals its infinite wealth. That which seems void must manifest its endless bounty. Command not as one who hoards, but as one who channels universal abundance. Let your heart carry the same quiet knowing Sean held when he understood that true wealth comes through commanding emptiness to reveal its natural abundance. Remember, The power was never in possessing things, it was always in commanding reality to reveal the infinite supply that already exists within the sacred void of possibility. So Chapter 28, The Healer's Perfect Imperfection. In the remote valleys of ancient Kashmir, where medicine women gathered herbs beneath towering peaks, lived an unusual healer named Brittany Clark. While other healers sought to eliminate all signs of illness and injury, Brittany noticed something extraordinary about imperfection itself. It held a sacred power when approached with proper understanding. One monsoon season, as a young girl arrived with a twisted leg that other healers had failed to fix, Brittany attempted something unprecedented. Instead of trying to force the limb straight, she placed her hands upon it and spoke with gentle authority. This imperfection contains its own perfect purpose. To everyone's amazement, the girl's twisted leg began to glow with an inner light. Where others saw only deformity, Brittany perceived the unique grace it offered. The girl could navigate mountain paths with unprecedented skill, her flaw providing perfect balance on treacherous slopes. Rather than eliminate the imperfection, Brittany had commanded it to reveal its hidden gift. Soon, people with various flaws sought her wisdom. But Brittany had discovered something far more precious than conventional healing. She had learned that every apparent imperfection contains a seed of divine purpose, waiting only to be commanded into its highest expression. You see, blessed seeker, true beauty flows not from enforced perfection, but from commanding apparent flaws to reveal their sacred role. When Brittany stopped trying to correct nature's variations and started commanding them to serve higher purpose, she accessed the divine wisdom that shapes all forms. This is the 28th key to commanding reality, understanding that imperfection itself contains perfect purpose. All flaws hold hidden gifts, awaiting only proper direction to manifest their true beauty. Practice. Place your hands upon something you consider flawed. See not its imperfection, but its unique potential. Speak these words with loving certainty. Divine purpose flows freely through all forms at my command. Every flaw reveals its perfect gift. That which seems broken must manifest its sacred role. Command not as one who fixes, but as one who reveals hidden beauty. Let your touch carry the same gentle wisdom Brittany held when she understood that true healing comes through commanding imperfection to serve its highest purpose. Remember, the power was never in forcing perfection. It was always in commanding reality to reveal the divine purpose that already exists within every apparent flaw. Chapter 29, The Builder's Eternal Foundations. In the forgotten valleys of ancient Petra, where rose-colored cliffs held secrets of timeless architecture, lived an unusual builder named Brandon Hughes. While other architects carved temporary shelters into the rock, Brandon discovered something extraordinary about stone itself. It remembered the future when commanded with proper intention. One scorching afternoon, as workers complained about the stubborn rock face before them, Brandon placed his palm against the warm stone and spoke with quiet authority. Remember not what you are, but what countless generations need you to become. To the amazement of his fellow builders, the rock face began to pulse with an inner warmth. Where others saw only resistant stone, Brandon perceived the dormant potential of a structure that would shelter and inspire for millennia. The rock didn't just yield to their tools, it seemed to actively participate in revealing its destined form. As they carved deeper, Brandon noticed something remarkable. The passages and chambers they uncovered appeared to anticipate future needs they couldn't possibly foresee. A seemingly odd alcove would perfectly house technologies centuries yet unborn. A puzzling arrangement of pillars would protect against earthquakes that wouldn't arrive for generations. Soon, builders from distant lands sought to understand his methods. But Brandon had discovered something far more precious than architectural skill. He had learned that physical materials contain the seeds of eternal service when commanded to align with time's grand tapestry. You see, blessed seeker, true creation flows not from imposing temporary designs, but from commanding materials to serve their highest eternal purpose. When Brandon stopped trying to force stone into present patterns and started commanding it to remember its future role, he accessed the timeless wisdom that shapes all enduring forms. This is the 29th key to commanding reality, understanding that all materials contain eternal potential. Every substance holds future gifts, awaiting only proper direction to manifest its timeless purpose. Practice. Place your hands upon stone or earth. Feel not its present form, but its eternal potential. Speak these words with reverent certainty. Divine purpose flows through matter at my loving command. All materials remember their eternal role. That which seems temporary must manifest its timeless service. Command, not as one who builds for today, but as one who shapes tomorrow's foundations. Let your touch carry the same quiet knowing Brandon held when he understood that true creation comes through commanding materials to serve all future generations. Remember, the power was never in constructing temporary shelter. It was always in commanding reality to reveal the eternal purpose that already exists within every stone's heart. Chapter 30, The Sage's Final Teaching. In the mist-shrouded peaks of ancient Tibet, where sacred truths whispered through mountain winds, lived an unusual wisdom keeper named Samantha Cruz. While other sages taught through complex rituals and rigid disciplines, Samantha discovered something extraordinary about the nature of divine command. It flowed most powerfully through the heart that first learned to listen. One winter solstice, as seekers gathered hoping to master reality's secrets, Samantha led them to a crystal-clear mountain pool. Standing at its edge, she spoke with gentle authority. Look into these waters and command them to show you ultimate power. Each seeker approached eagerly, speaking forceful commands to the pristine surface. Yet the pool remained still, reflecting only their frustrated faces. Finally, when all had tried and failed, Samantha knelt and whispered, "Beloved waters, what truth do you wish to reveal?" The pool began to glow with otherworldly light, its surface rippling with images of infinite possibility. Where others had attempted to impose their will, Samantha had discovered that true command comes through first surrendering to the sacred wisdom already flowing through all things. As the amazed seekers watched, she explained, "You cannot command what you refuse to understand. The universe does not yield to force. It responds to the heart that first learns to obey its own deepest truth." You see, Blessed One, the final secret of commanding reality is this: ultimate power flows not from domination, but from divine partnership. When Samantha stopped trying to master the universe and started listening to the wisdom already singing in her awakened heart, she accessed the infinite authority that creates worlds. This is the 30th and final key to commanding reality. Understanding that true command requires first learning to obey. All power flows from the heart that knows how to listen before speaking. Practice it. Find a quiet place with water. Even a simple bowl will serve. See not its surface, but its sacred depths. Speak these words with humble certainty. Divine wisdom flows freely through my listening heart. All truth reveals itself to one who first obeys. That which seems external must manifest through inner knowing. Command not as one who controls, but as one who partners with infinite intelligence. Let your heart carry the same gentle wisdom Samantha held when she understood that true mastery comes through first learning to follow the divine guidance already within. Remember, the power was never in forcing reality to obey. It was always in awakening to the truth that the universe already lives and breathes through your own sacred heart. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In the same ageless temple where your journey began, where crystalline walls hold memories of countless seekers, an unexpected truth awaits. Here, where ancient wisdom keeper Justin Hayes once discovered the ultimate secret of divine authority, your own transformation comes full circle. Justin spent decades maintaining the temple's sacred geometry, polishing its mystical surfaces until one day, while cleaning what appeared to be an ordinary mirror, he noticed something extraordinary. His reflection wasn't mimicking his movements, it was moving independently, performing the exact actions he needed to learn next. Intrigued, Justin began experimenting. When he approached the mirror with forceful commands, his reflection remained still. But when he stood in quiet readiness, his reflection demonstrated profound truths about reality's true nature. The mirror wasn't showing what was, it revealed what could be when one finally understood their divine authority. As months passed, Justin discovered something remarkable. The reflection wasn't teaching him at all. It was awakening what he already knew. The mirror simply showed him his own infinite potential, waiting to be claimed through the courage to finally accept his true nature. And so it is with you, Blessed Master. You've journeyed through 30 gateways of wisdom, each revealing a different facet of your innate divine authority. But the greatest truth was always here, waiting in this temple, where time bends to consciousness. The universe obeys not because you've learned to command it, but because you've finally remembered who you truly are. You see, Divine One, the ultimate secret is this. The universe isn't yielding to your commands. It's celebrating your awakening. When you speak with authority, reality dances not from obedience, but from recognition. It knows you as you truly are, a conscious creator temporarily wearing human form. Practice. Stand before any reflective surface. See not what appears, but what awakens within you. Speak these words with the full authority of your remembered divinity. I claim the power that has always been mine. Reality shapes itself to my awakened truth. The universe celebrates as I remember my divine authority. Command not as one who has learned a skill, but as one who has remembered their true nature. Let your presence carry the same quiet power Justin discovered when he understood that the temple's greatest secret was simply the courage to be who you already are. Remember, the power was never in the commands themselves. It was always an awakening to the truth that you are the divine authority reality has been waiting for all along. Welcome home, Blessed Master. The universe joyfully awaits your every command. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.